Yo, what's up, Serpa Squad? Tanner here, and I'm back with another Nano Paludarium. If you recall, back in 2019, I bought a mini complete tank and modified it to be a paludarium. A year later, and they offer an actual paludarium tank. Mini complete tank liked what I did so much with the original setup that they sent me this one free of charge to see what I could do. Let's begin. To start, I have a metal roller, a pencil, a utility blade, and scrap pieces of corrugated plastic. If you're unfamiliar with this, it's just an extruded sheet of plastic. It's easy to cut, cheap, and readily available. Cutting along a single side of the plastic is an easy way to create all sorts of items for crafts because it makes a fold. We'll do this while creating the design. I first made a measurement to see how tall I wanted the upper level to be. I measured and cut a piece of plastic down to that height. I also cut along the open areas to create folds. A dry fit in the tank should give you a better idea of what this will look like. It fit well, so I traced the same shape onto the main plastic sheet and cut out the new piece slightly shorter than before. It was scored just like the first. As you can see, the pieces fit together, with the shorter one acting as a support. A small notch was cut in the larger piece. This will be a spout for the waterfall. Let's get these into the tank. To start, I attached the larger piece to the side of the tank with hot glue. As I've explained in other builds, this is not a permanent hold. It will just make it easier to work until silicone is added. After that, the smaller support was put in place. Then I folded a piece of paper over top of the structure to get the main shape. The excess was later removed. The thickness of the plastic was also accounted for. Using this template, I cut out a small piece of corrugated plastic. Hot glue was added to the top of the structure and this piece was secured. After all was said and done, I ended up with this small waterfall box. We'll create another one using the same techniques. I made some measurements, cut out the main piece, scored along the open spaces, marked for and cut water spouts, and the main structure was hot glued in place. Like the previous one, it called for supports. These were made of smaller pieces of plastic glued down. There was also a piece to cap everything off. With all of the initial construction work complete, this is what I ended up with. It's not much to look at, but it will serve a function. As is though, it's not going to do much good. To prepare it for the next step, I got a tube of 100% silicone and applied it to all of the cracks and along the edges of the tank. This will secure everything together and waterproof each compartment. Unfortunately, the tube I had was already cut to a large bead size. It made this process messier than it needed to be. Because of that, I had to go back and clean up the silicone before allowing everything to cure. After the silicone cured overnight, I filled the tank with water and gave it a test run. Beside having minimal flow, everything appeared to function well. Adding the rocks should help with this though. Just like the previous tank, I'll be using some slate stones to escape the waterfall portion of the tank. It's a lot of work to get these all stacked up into formations, but they create a nice effect. Anyway, I liberally applied silicone in small sections, distributing it with a bamboo skewer. I pressed the stones into the silicone and stacked them up one by one. For the sake of time, I primarily did this on the areas near the waterfall spouts. After getting all of the main pieces secured, I cut another notch on the sides of the waterfalls. This will make for a better transition into the stones. Lastly, I built up a stone structure on the left side of the tank to help with the composition. Just like anything else with silicone, everything was left to cure overnight. Here's how it looked after that amount of time. It's starting to get there, but we need to add the rest of the details to the background. For that, I'm primarily using cocoa fiber liner. I cut the liner into pieces and covered one side with silicone. These were then pressed onto the blank areas of the tank to build up the base layer of the background. Now things are starting to look a little more complete. To finalize the look further, I got a tube of cyanoacrylate superglue and cocoa fiber. I used these to hide any imperfections with the background and make things look more seamless. What I did was put globs of superglue throughout. I covered the glue with cocoa fiber and pressed it in to ensure a cohesive look. During this process, I periodically turn the tank upside down to remove excess cocoa fiber. Now that's what I'm talking about. Things have really come together. However, wouldn't this look better with some driftwood? I thought so too. For this one I'll be using some spiderwood to help retain the sense of scale. I put a few sticks in locations that I thought looked good. They were later superglued in place. I repeated this process several times until I eventually ended up with the final hardscape design. This setup wouldn't be complete without a substrate. I'm not planting much in the water area, so I'm keeping it simple with some garnet sand. A few spoonfuls were put into the container and evened out with a brush. I chose this sand because it blends with the brown parts of the background. I didn't want a contrasting substrate to take away from everything else I've done. After a nice layer of substrate was in, I added more slate stones to enhance the overall look. It's finally time to bring this setup to life with some plants. What I have are the remnants of a Marimo moss ball, Suswassertong, fern moss, Ficus pumila crucifolia, and Anubias nana petite. I started by adding a few patches of Suswassertong underneath the branches in the water area. Tufts of Marimo moss were also peppered throughout the water area. After that, fern moss was added to the background. Since it looks like mini ferns, this will help add even more interest to the overall look. The ficus was added to the background as well for more textural contrast. Last were a few segments of Anubias. To complete the build, I gave everything a quick spray down, put the sump on the nano shelf, filled it with water, put the tank on top, filled that with water, turned on the light, and got the water up and running. And there you have it, another nano paludarium in the new mini complete paludarium tank. Overall, I think this one turned out great. It's a much more practical size than the original, so it was a lot easier to add extra details and such. Plus I was able to focus more on the scape itself since I didn't have to make any modifications to the tank. Even though it is larger, I still don't think it's anywhere near large enough for livestock. Oh yeah, before I forget, you may have also noticed that I added a Zola caroliniana to the water area. Just like the original, it comes with a light and sump filtration stand. Everything works well, but I wish the pump was stronger. The flow is not quite there to really get the waterfalls moving. I'll add a different one soon. Regardless, I do think this is a nice looking piece. The clarity on the acrylic is really nice. I kept thinking I left the door open, but it's just that clear. I also really like the door itself. It makes maintenance easy and allows you to truly appreciate the scape. If you're interested in pre-ordering this tank, I'll leave a link down in the video description. Anyway, I really enjoyed this project and I hope you did as well. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Also, a huge thanks to Mini Complete Tank for giving me the opportunity to set up this paludarium. It's greatly appreciated. As always, Serpa Squad, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care and peace.